Hey guys, I'm out here at Yoke this morning. One of my favorite places for sure. It is a really hot, sunny day out here. We're gonna do a max takeoff out of here, max performance takeoff. I don't know if I've actually ever done like full max on the Kodiak, but it's good to know so you can kind of see what your actual plane can do and is capable of. So you see that mountain behind me? I'm gonna see if I can get to the same altitude as that by the time I get over there. I think it's probably 2 miles at most, and probably a good 2,500 feet or more higher than me. I do have 3 passengers. I didn't think I was going to, but I do have 3 passengers now. We're on to Wewak, 45-minute flight, and then I'm heading on to Goroka. So let's get started. I'm going to show you what I had to do to get these guys going for their tickets and things like that. Selling tickets out here in the middle of Papua New Guinea nowhere jungle. So let's get loaded, get out of here on a 45-minute flight. Placa enseñarlo here na here. Like los kissing sobre the way lo backside lo balos. So you could placa enseñarlo here.
Hey.
Let's go ahead and get started, then we'll go over weight and balance and everything else before we get out of here. Low start. G's coming up. Oil pressure's coming up to the bottom of the red. There we go. I want to reduce our fuel. Watching my ITT, the rate of it, coming back down to NG, looking at that, over 35, back up to ITT, and 651. All right, generator on, prop forward, flaps are 20, then alternator on, then aux bus. Boy, I can get the air blowing in here quicker than later. Okay, we've got 710 pounds, so I'm gonna put that in first before I forget. And my flight plan. So come on down here to a saved one. I think we have some Wewak Yoke ones. There we go. We'll just invert that. There we go. Right, so weight and balance. I've got basically 5 seats just like that. And I've got these 3 guys back there. They're probably all 65 kgs. I've got 78 kgs in my hat rack, and then I have, let's see, I've got, come over here to my DFR, a manifest, I've got Goroka, Wewak, 2 of these top ones here. I've got 106 and 32. I go 106 plus 32 minus my 78 for my hat rack. I've got 60 underneath this one right here. Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. You can see my CG is kind of more towards the aft of the envelope. The grass is, I don't know, probably 8 inches tall today. It's a little bit long. They ran out of gas for mow. So I kind of wanted the most of the weight in the back that helps the nose get off the ground just a little bit easier and kind of skim through the grass. And it's just going to make my rotating and everything easier. This is a 6% slope runway. And we're going to do our max takeoff out of here. So we've got depart. We'll go ahead and send that. We'll go at 11,000. My 45-minute flight. Most of that will be climbing and descending. Now, just to show you guys this, kind of go over to performance in the aircraft flight manual. I'm sorry, limitations. Takeoff, max, 790 on the ITT. I'm already at 3,300 feet. I'm not going to torque out here because I'm not low enough. I can temp out on ITT. So 790. I'm not going to go that high because I don't want to over temp it just for the sake of seeing how this thing performs. Max climb is 765. So that's the number I'm going to be really worrying about on my climb out. So I'm going to bring this up to 740, which will probably bring it up to around 760 on takeoff. So it's a little bit under because it's not worth doing something damage because it's going to be a pretty bumpy runway and I'm going to have my eyes out most of the time, but I'm going to be checking my ITT. And that is that note 3 is up to 5 minutes long. So we will start the timer when we take off out of here. Alright, our fuel is on, our selectors are good, our taw is off. We are rotating at 57 knots today with our weight on board that we have. Flaps are set. We don't have a radar on this airplane. Our trims are getting set up. We are going to be airspeed alive by the second cone. The second cone up there that we can see. We're on 35 knots, maybe be a little bit slower just because of the high grass, but we should accelerate quickly after that. Rotate at 57. After takeoff, we'll pitch for 85 knots, considering EPL, considering feather. Otherwise, we'll cut off, pull off, and shut off. Make a left-hand turn to lowering terrain. Emergencies, masters, crack my door and tell these guys to brace. 30 degrees basically at 3,000 roughly, so 1420. So ignition condition, flaps 20, fuel and harnesses. All stations, EFK 1285, November Tango Echo, taxi EFK, WEWAC. We've bound climb 1000. Alright, ignition condition, flaps 20, fuel and harnesses. 1420, rotate 57. Come up here and just climb straight ahead. If I can't make it, then I'll make a left-hand turn out of here. Alright, 1420. Let's go ahead and see what that brings us up to. Brings me up to 720. I'm going to bring it up a little bit higher to 740. And go. There's 740, let's bring up a little more. Airspeed's alive. All right, let's bring this on up. 765. Pitching for 73 knots. Our best angle of climb. Looks like about 14 degrees on the attitude indicator today. I hit timer and start. So with the weight I am right now, I've got 3 knots of headwind, 1,250 feet per minute. Let me nose over. Right at 765. And you can see I'm only at 1650 on the torque, so still well within the green. Nose over a tiny bit so I can get my 12 degrees actually. Which is usually about the angle that I'm looking for, is around 12 degrees for most weights will get you your best angle of climb. One of the reasons I like doing these kind of exercises is really to see what your plane can perform. I mean, I have the opportunity to be able to fly the same plane all the time. And it's nice, so you can look at a cloud and just go, yeah, I can get over that, or yeah, no, I'm not gonna be able to get over that. It's gonna be close. We're just going to continue on. I think I should be able to make it. It looks like it to me. I'm at 4,900 feet. We are at 3,300 back there. 1 knot of headwind. If I have to peel off, I'm going to peel off to the right.
500.
1 knot of headwind. Barely making it over, it looks like. There's 5,300, so 2,000 feet, and we are probably about 2 miles or so. So I'm going to make a turn now because I will make it, but I don't want to keep going that direction. Just going to keep our speeds up at 73 though. There we go. All right, looks like most of my clouds for getting over top of these ridges are going to be quite a bit higher. I do have some right at the ridges. I can see the ridge line all the way ahead of me though. So I'm going to go up to the ridge and see if I, for one, see any holes. Otherwise I'm going to have to go all the way up to like 12,000 feet to get through here, and I don't really want to do that quite yet. I'm seeing a little bit of blue over here, so we're just going to continue on. For our 73, and basically what that's allowing me to do is in the shortest amount of distance get to the highest altitude. So it will climb better if I kind of lower things off and stuff like that. So I'm at 2.5 minutes now. We're at 750 because we're getting a little bit higher, so the ITT is dropping down, so we're going to bump that back up to 760, 65, and it looks like my power lever is as far as it's going to go forward today. All right, so I don't think I'm going to quite make that one over there. I'm going to come on over here. Close. I probably could. I see blue over there, but it's just not enough for comfort to get through there. So, all right, well, I made my point now. Let's go ahead and nose over, bring our ITT on back. We've been at it for 3.5 minutes now. Do a one, actually, we'll just do a 360 and then head back through that hole. I think that should work. Moresby 8906, November Tango Echo departure.
November Tango Echo, Moscow.
November Tango Echo departed Yifki for POB at time 44. We'll be tracking 021 on climb not above 1000. Estimating overhead Yembi Yembi time 04 WEWAC 27. Right, now I'm pitching for my about 99 knots.
November Tango Echo. On climb not above 1000. Again. Question, request destination only.
Destination WEWAC, November Tango Echo.
November Tango Echo, Roger Morphy, stand by for check on 126.
Standing by 1267. Okay, so looking now to get out of here. I'm really at 9,300. That's really the highest I can get to right here. Just slowing down though, so I have a little more time to space to think. I really want to stick my nose back up in there until I know I for sure can get it through there. Yeah, that's a big enough hole. I can see all the way through down into the valley on the other side, so we will go with that. Hopefully these guys behind me don't get sick with the light cranking and banking. All right, let's throw our terrain on real quick. There we go. But we're gonna pull our power on back. There's no need to be zooming through as fast as we possibly can when there's not a massive hole, but it's big enough that I can see all the way through though. All right, at this point, we're coming up on our committed. Pulling through this, I'd say I am committed now. Which means I do not have no space to get back out of here safely without going into clouds. All right, too easy. We can see all the way through, more than 50 miles, so we're going to continue on. We'll get back on track here in just a minute once we get all the way through here. If you're wondering, why don't you just go through the clouds, Ryan? Well, my minimum safe is 13,000. I'm at 9,000 now, so I have to circle to go through that way, and that's just too much work for me. All right, now we're through. Let's bring our torque rate back on up to 1250, which is going to be our cruise torque. Put our right rudder pressure, now we're getting a little more power in. And we need to go that way. So we're going to squeeze through this little cloud here, and then I'm going to go over a little bit how I use my app here to get tickets for these guys. I handwrite it, but how I do some of the billing behind the scenes on this, and then we'll be on to WEWAC. We got another probably 30 minutes or so, probably about 35 minutes. Also bumper ITT up. Closer to 720 so we can get a little bit better of a climb for our last 1,000 foot. Okay, so we head over to the top to DFR page. This is where I put all of my, basically DFR's daily flight record, and it's who I fly and our manifest, things like that. So I wrote out a receipt for these guys, and they paid with cash, 3,240 kina, which is around, times 0.28 or so, 907 US dollars, so about 300 bucks a ticket to head to Goroka, which is about an hour and 10-minute flight for these guys, but we're going through WEWAC to get my other passengers. If I hit down new load down here, we're gonna put in Yifki Goroka, account number, and cash. And we're gonna manually enter it and just put in my ticket number, 9538, and their names. Jeremiah, Isagun, and Nanosun. Which I haven't heard those two names before. We'll do 3 adults next, and we'll do 140, and they did not have anything early on them. 3240. There we go. Easy. Bring our torque on back to 1250 now that we're at 11,000 feet. Always bring it to 1270 and then just let it sit there. And then it usually just settles on down to 1250. Oh, actually, you know what? These guys, there's 3 of them, and they're 65 pounds each, so it's going to do times 3. Oh, there we go, 195. That's better. That's what I put them down as, and my weight and balance. We're coming up to our top of descent right here. If we hit flight plan over here in 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do my arrival tab here. We're coming into WEWAC at 1267, which is what we have already in here. The biggest thing I want is my landing performance, which is 66 knots. So we can put that in down here. And flip that tab right there. These things are so handy. Check out my website, it's called the Buddy Check. Covers your takeoff and landing critical items that could potentially kill you, basically. Keep your eyes up and out where they need to be. This one's backlit, got a 3-volt battery inside of it, and lights up the same color as all these in density, so you're not going to see it if I turn it on right now. So, our selectors and brakes are good. Our fuel says it's imbalanced, but this airplane flies imbalanced, but it actually is balanced, so yeah. We've redone our fuel tank calibrations a million times and it still does it. Our TAWS, terrain awareness system, we're going to leave it enabled for now. It looks like we might be able to just kind of wiggle our way through all those clouds ahead of us down there on descent. We're planning to fly directly over top of it, and winds are coming out of, I guess, the west today, northwest, so I might go over top and enter into a right downwind for 28, or I might go the other way and land on 10. We'll figure it out once we get there. They don't have ATIS here. It says it does, but it does not. In fact, let me just tune that in and see.
Vertical track.
So I'm going to flip this all the way down to 1,000 feet, pattern altitude, vertical speed on my autopilot, and start clicking it down. Now I've got 800 feet per minute put in there, and the reason I have that, even with passengers, they are adults, they can handle themselves, but if I do 500 feet, I'm basically just pushing myself through all the clouds. It's going to be a lot harder. If I was by myself, I'd probably do around 1,500 feet to get over top of the clouds as much as I can, and then just go straight down from there, make my life easier. But 800 is really kind of the max that I would like to do, because it's going to equal out to be closer to probably like 900 feet by the time I get up in there. These mountains going into WEWAC are right around 1,600 to 1,900 or so, right around that. So in my head, it's always just around 2,000.
TAWS available.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking to see if I see any ridge lines up there. I'm not seeing any yet. We'll still be able to wiggle our way through. Looks off to the right. Looks like we might have some holes kind of going through the clouds that way, more so than the straight ahead, but we're going to continue straight ahead, because never freak out till you get there, because it's always different by the time you get up there. You can see I'm at 800 feet per minute on my descent, showing about 750 here, even though I have 800 here, and it's just a little bit past WEWAC. So, like I said, probably have to do 900. We'll do that, and it'll kind of bounce it around a little bit back and forth, so we'll just kind of keep adjusting so that lays right on top of WEWAC. All stations, WEWAC, Kodiak, November Tango Echo, 30 miles to the south-southwest, passing 900,000 on descent. Circuit time, WEWAC 28. You guys can see this little B-25 right here. Go search on my channel for like crashed airplane or something like that. I've flown over that. Pretty interesting story with this B-25. It landed out in the field after losing an engine after maybe a bombing raid or something like that over top of WEWAC, which are still like bomb craters and stuff all along the sides of the runway. He crash landed out here into a big, huge open field, And yeah, super sad story on what happened to those guys being captured, taken up to WEWAC, and yeah, later did not end well for them. PacificRex.com or something like that had a little bit of info on it. I mean, wiggling through these clouds 80% of the time, it works every time. So, I mean, those are pretty good odds, right?
That doesn't make sense.
Seeing a sliver of the ridge top off to the right, which is pretty consistent at what it does here because the highest point of the mountain on this whole ridge is right there. So that's where the clouds sit on top of the mountains usually, and the mountains slowly work their way down over here. So typically over there and over there is where you can get in. Looks like there might be rain over that way. So I'm just going to continue straight ahead because I might be seeing through the clouds a couple of ridge tops. Alright, we're approaching 170 knots. My max is 182 in this plane. So I'm putting my hand up here on the throttle, on the power lever, so that I can kind of mentally go, okay, I'm at my max. I need to like really keep an eye on it now because we've got turbulence potential coming over top of these ridges and it could be bouncing around quite a bit. Definitely see the ridges over there. I'm starting to see the ridges actually here now, right on course. So you can see we haven't even gotten off that far. Looks like a half a mile up here, the cross track. All stations, WEWAC 1267, November Tango, Echo 10 miles to the south, 4000 will be overhead, time 28, WEWAC. Like I said, you can probably just wiggle your way through it. It always looks worse when you're like 15 miles from it, just usually looks like a wall.
That was nice.
If I remember, you guys can remind me too in the comments, but I do have a video, I thought a little like 9-minute documentary from World War II that was made of a bombing raid here. Americans came up from, I think Moresby, which quite a ways, and they came over top of these mountains and they bombed down into here and then came around. I'll try to link that if I can remember. Check it out because it's a really interesting little documentary. Alright, wind's behind me, 3 knots, so we'll fly overhead. If the winds are next to nothing on here, we'll probably just turn to the left downwind for runway 10. Okay, our TAWs, I'm going to flip on just so it doesn't beep at me right now. Lights and inlet are done. 4 knots coming from the west. We have to go around, power up 20 degrees. Best climb and reset our torque. Top end harness is done. And we got 6 knots. We'll go ahead and land the runway 28. All stations, WEWAC, November Tango Echo overhead. We'll be joining into a right downwind. Runway 28, break, Moresby, November Tango Echo, cancel, SAR, WEWAC.
November Tango Echo, WEWAC, starboard's terminated.
November Tango Echo. Looking down at the windsock, it's pretty much just hanging limp, but I already made my call, so we'll go with that. Degrees flaps. Ooh man, that ocean sure does look nice. 20 degrees of flaps. Lots of forward pressure until I get my trim in. Going 66 knots at the slowest, probably come in closer to 70 today. Pretty much right here at this beach is where I like to turn my base. There we go. Going to 80. All stations, WEWAC, November Tango Echo, final runway 28. Okay, yeah, we've got about 11 knot crosswind here, so I'm going to be expecting maybe some wind shear close to the ground. That's usually the case. 15 knots coming from this direction, and usually wind shear. So I'm actually going to hold my altitude just for a little bit. Land
500.
Land a little bit longer than I normally would. It's crazy. One windsock completely dead. And I'm looking at this windsock down here, and it's showing, yeah, closer to like probably like 9 knots or so on the ground. A tiny bit, but not really that bad a wind shear. Looks like it's dropped down to 10 knots now. Runway's clear, we're continuing. I'll dip my right wing into the wind just a little bit, and then counteract it with my rudder. I'll probably drop off here at the ground. Not bad. Welcome to WEWAC. Hope you guys enjoyed that max power takeoff. I've actually never done that, like to where I actually basically just hit the stop up here. So yeah, I encourage you guys, if you're flying, to go find out really what your airplane is able to do. I'm going to park off to the left a little more than normal because we've got a couple of Samaritan Aviation float planes coming in, 206s on a medevac, and they're going to be taking up a little bit more space on the ramp. Now I want to be able to get out of here and not be in their way. Thanks guys for joining me on this flight. See you guys next time.